Welcome everyone to the main journey, a way for you to join me on a learning journey through life. My name is Samuel Main, and today we welcome Chris Spring to the show. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining me, buddy.
Thank you for having me. It's the first podcast I've ever been on. So
yeah, let's go. Gonna be a good guest. It's gonna be fun.
Born for this.
Born for it. There we go. First of all, mate, I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy island life to join me today. We'll get into that soon. Chris, I wanted to give you some props before we delve into the details today, simply to give the audience a better understanding of what you have accomplished to date. You spent 10 years in the corporate world, progressing through the ranks before taking the leap and actually moving to Bali to coach CrossFit, or at least spending a lot of time there, which is when we initially met many years ago, which is kind of scary to think about now. Many years ago, it's like 4 or 5, I think.
Ridiculous.
Since then, you have met your wonderful wife, Lani, and successfully navigated the online world of marketing, sales, and fulfillment to build a $1 million business. On top of this, you are an avid traveler, constantly on the move. You still maintain a very healthy and fit lifestyle, and you are a heavy donator to the charity Operation Underground Railroad, which helps save young children from human trafficking and sex slavery. An incredible story, man, and I'm excited to delve into this. So to kick this all off, I wanted to go back to the transition for you from corporate to then moving to Bali to coach CrossFit. How did this even come about, and ultimately why?
Yeah. It was a long journey because I was in corporate for 12 years in total. I think after like 5 years, I came back off of a holiday, and I wasn't looking forward to going back to the office. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Something I enjoy, and should I have kids in the future, allows me to spend time with my children, like at least take them to school and pick them up again, where I'm more flexible. And at that time, I was just got into the gym more heavily and was kind of really interested, seeing results, and really kind of got into the fitness life and just kind of reading everything I need to read, just looking at nutrition. And I had a personal trainer of my own. I was like, okay, his life seems a little bit more flexible than mine, so I started to do my personal training course. And probably I was about 25 when I started that journey, and qualified as a personal trainer and got the qualifications. Yeah. At that point, I never felt comfortable with giving in the 9 to 5 and the comfort, the salary, the bonuses, and the holiday time and the healthcare and all that brings. So I was doing personal training on the side. So I was working in London, in the city, and I got a personal trainer gig in Covent Garden. I was living in Essex at the time, so I would commute to Covent Garden in the morning some days, do like an hour or 2 hour personal training, go into my 9 to 5, and then go back to the gym, Covent Garden, to like 9, and then travel back to Essex, which was like a 90-minute commute from Covent Garden. And did that for like 6 months. And I was in my 20s, so it was fine. It was like I wasn't tired. It never bothered me. It was just my life. Mm-hmm. And then quit Covent Garden and then just started personal training locally. So to set up a website, back then you could just set up a website and people would find it. And I could literally build up like a good part-time personal training page just from putting up one website, saying, hey, if you want to be personal training in the area, then hit me up. I'll come to your house for a free consultation. Didn't know anything about marketing or funnels then, but I offered a free consultation, went to the house, kind of interviewed them a bit, and they said, yeah, this is something I can help you with, and then signed them up there. So I did that for like maybe another 2 years and done some boot camps before and after work as well. And then things started to really stress me out, like so much work and so much commuting. I remember sitting on the train after my 9 to 5 going back to Essex, and that being my favourite part of the day. It was like I had 35, 40 minutes where I didn't have to do anything. I could turn off, I would have a nap, and I would dread the train coming to my station. It's like, oh shit, now I have to go get changed and go do 2-3 hours of personal training outside. And it was a year of the Olympics in London, and the weather was miserable. Like I remember the winter was so wet and rainy. I was looking forward. I was saying to my clients, like, we've made it through the winter, spring's coming, like we've earned that training outside, we're going to get some sun, and then it just rained constantly. So that was kind of the final straw. So I quit the personal training thing and just went back to corporate again and just stayed in corporate and did nothing else. And at that time, I found CrossFit.
Yep.
Then started to go to CrossFit. So I took time out of personal training and just focused again on my own fitness, which is like when you start personal training before and after work and you're super tired, and obviously like, your fitness takes a dive, and like I was getting like skin conditions and stuff, and I was super unhealthy at the time. So I was like, okay, I need to focus back on my health. And then that's where I found CrossFit, and that was like 9 years ago when CrossFit was new. So I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 gyms in London, like CrossFit gyms. So it was really cool to be part of that CrossFit boom. And everyone in the gym was kind of not hardcore CrossFitters, but they knew who people were in the CrossFit thing. I knew enough about CrossFit. But now it's so diverse, people who come into CrossFit, it's completely different. It's really cool to see. But back then it's a real tight niche. So again, fell in love with CrossFit. I was like, okay, there's an opportunity in the gym that I was at to get my level 1 qualifications because they was hosting them there. Yep. One of the owners was Jamie Tickenin. So it was Andy Thorisdot's coach. So he owned part of the gym. So he was on the level 1 seminar staff. So he would do all the level 1s in the gym, and they got allocated some free spots. So I managed to grab one of those, got my level 1, and then the gym offered an internship program to coach you up to be a coach. So I did that, and that was like a 12-month process, I think. And then at the end of that, I advertised myself to a couple of other gyms around London, and got a part-time CrossFit coaching gig on a Saturday morning over at CrossFit Bold in Earlsfield. So again, kept my 9 till 5 and just did that. But it's something I really enjoyed doing. Like when I was coaching CrossFit back then, it wasn't like work. It was just I'm just going to go hang out for 4 hours and do fitness with people and teach them. And it was just really cool being part of that group environment where with one-to-one personal training, it was just, for me, it's kind of boring. So I wasn't really training people that I was connected with. Where with CrossFit, they were like definitely in London, very much like me, more like-minded. So I did that for about a year. And then the head coach from that gym, who owned the gym, was going back into the police force. He took a year out. So I was looking for a head coach to come in, and it was a full-time salary position job. So I was like, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to really get out of corporate now, go into something that I love and have that safety of the salary. So I did that. So I applied for the job, got the job. Obviously, even though it was a pay cut from what I was on, it was allowing me to kind of be a lot more happier in what I was doing. So that led me into CrossFit, coaching full-time. Did that for a year and a bit. I won't go into details of what happened within them, but then kind of felt really tired. I mean, I was waking up at like 12 minutes past 4. Everyone says to me, why 12? And I was like, well, the bus was coming at this time, so I calculated it to perfection.
Oh, I remember those
as much
days.
sleep as I could. So 3 times a week, I was waking up at 12 minutes past 4. Traveling, I lived in East London at this point in Dalston, and would travel all the way across to Earlsfield, which is my own doing. I could have just moved to Southwest London, but I enjoyed East London. Yeah. So spent a lot of time commuting, getting home at 10 p.m. some nights, and it was just again burning out. It was just too much time. Like, and I kind of envied my 9 till 5 friends. I'm like, oh, you lucky bastards! Like, you get to wake up at 7:30, you're home by 6, and you have that. But I was, yeah, I mean, I'd coach 3 hours in the morning, come back home, go back in the afternoon, do some personal training, do some coaching. I really loved it. Like, I really loved the coaching side of it, but I just couldn't maintain those hours. And I had a property in Essex that I'd sold and had some profit on, so I had some money in the bank. And then the gym was eventually going to close down because the building they was leasing was getting redeveloped. So I had a friend in Bali, and she'd been here for maybe like 3 months at a time. I'd seen her on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Why are you in Bali?
Living the dream.
She's like, I do it every couple of years to come take some time out and just kind of recharge. I thought, that sounds cool. Like, and then she was at CrossFit Wanderlust, which has just opened up in Bali at the time. It's like, oh, there's a cool CrossFit gym here. I can go do CrossFit. There's some cool coffee shops and things. I'm really into my coffee. So it seems like a pretty cool life. So I'll take 6 months out of my life and just go to Bali and see what happens. And if I stay there for a month and travel somewhere else afterwards, then so be it. Yeah, and got my plane ticket to Bali, quit the CrossFit job, and then, yeah, ended up in Bali. And then for the first 3 months, it was just really kind of time out for myself, doing some kind of studying, learning about nutrition more so I could go on to online coaching. So obviously I didn't realise I needed an income at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, let me learn some skills. So learn some marketing skills, learn some nutrition skills, so I can then take a business online. But then, yeah, the CrossFit gym was short on coaches. So they reached out to me and said, hey, we know that you coach, do you mind covering some of the classes? And that, which led me into coaching there for another year or so. So yeah, long story, but it got me into Bali.
It's so interesting because I can relate to like so much of that. It was really interesting. You made me think when you mentioned about that original holiday you took, and then like you mentioned that was almost in a way a trigger for you of like, okay, things have got to change because you didn't want to go home. And I've actually been thinking about this a lot, is when I take holiday, quite often feel like guilty because I'm not working and not moving forward, and then like really struggle to relax. So it's really interesting to hear like yours had that guilt too of like returning and didn't want to return. I can definitely relate when you mentioned about like the commuting, because like that became like the highlight of your day, and like that's like a, you know, I think there'll be a lot of people that'll be like, yeah, that's me.
I would pray for the train to break down for an extra 5 minutes.
It's yeah, that's a real tough time, isn't it? If someone else is there, it's like, hey, that's a sign, that's a flag that, you know, you got to make some changes. And then you mentioned about split shifts and like waking up at specific time. I can attest to that so much. I remember those split shifts. You're just constantly tired all the time. You know, you go to the gym, train, or coach classes, train, go home, eat, nap, and then go back to the gym and repeat. His sleep schedule is just all over the place.
And I feel like I think with training, like your training takes a hit. I've always said to people, if you enjoy doing CrossFit, don't become a CrossFit coach.
Yeah.
Because you end up spending a lot of time in the gym. So when you do finish classes, you actually look to not spend as much time in the gym anymore. And then your training takes a hit. And then you start training on your own, or like with one or two people. And it's not as fun as what got you in love with CrossFit. And for me, it's the community feels. It's doing the class with 10, 20 people and having that kind of camaraderie and then the whole community. And yeah, that disappeared when I became a CrossFit coach.
Yeah, I actually got into like more like bodybuilding once I started coaching CrossFit so much, because I was like, I just didn't want to be even more time in the CrossFit gym. Because I want to delve into the actual challenges that you had when you made that transition, and also how it potentially impacted some of the people around you. Because obviously you pretty much upped and left and went to Bali and made that leap. But there must have been some challenges, some difficulties of actually doing so. Did you not have any?
No, it's really weird. Like when I look back on it now, and like that was a really major decision I made.
Yeah.
But I never felt like at the time it was a big decision. And my parents like are super supportive, and like I owe everything to them. And like they've always just supported my decision. When I said to them I'm going to quit corporate and go into coaching full time at CrossFit, they were super cool with it. They asked me a couple of questions, but they was like, cool, if that's what you want to do, go do it. And then when I told them about Bali, I was like, cool, like, if that's what you want to do, then go do it. And yeah, I think I was living with my brother at the time, and he got into a serious relationship. So our lease was coming up anyway. So he was going to move out with Sarah, his now wife. So that timed really well. So I wasn't leaving anyone in the lurch with rent or anything. I have a really good friend in Clapham, and she had a spare room. So she was happy to put me out for a couple of weeks whilst the time came around for me to leave. And everything, and I had the money in the bank. So it was just everything just seemed right. And I just come out of a relationship myself. So that kind of drove me a little bit more to want to kind of leave England and see the world a bit more. So
love it.
Yeah, it's really weird. When I look back here, I'm like, shit, it's a major turning point. That whole story was a massive, like CrossFit for me is a massive turning point in my whole life. People that I met and the decisions that I made, and the willingness to be more open-minded. I think like coming to Bali was a result of doing CrossFit for like 5 years before that, and just meeting those people in London. I moved to London as well after being in the CrossFit gym, so I could be closer to the CrossFit gym, closer to people in the community. And I find as we're traveling, people in the CrossFit community just seem to be more open-minded. Definitely in London, where there's like so many different cultures anyway. So it wasn't a big move because other people were doing it. Had I stayed in like my town in Essex and was amongst my school friends that are still there, and you know, married to people from the same town and that kind of stuff, it would have seemed like a much bigger deal, I think. But having spent like 3 years living in London, it just seems
it was like natural, almost
like a normal thing to do for people. So
yeah,
and the fact that I had a friend again who I met in London, and she had done it. I was like, cool. But yeah, it's weird because I was 32 at the time when I did it, so it does seem a little bit older than when most people would go and like travel and stuff. But yeah, I had no concerns, no problems, no questions. It was just, I'm just going to do it. And worst case scenario, I come back to London, I can either go back to corporate or come back into coaching. So
yeah, I love that perspective of like, what's the worst case scenario? Is that, oh, maybe, okay, you lose your job, or you quit from your job, you go away, you don't like it, you come home, you can always find, you know, another job, and often a better job or a better role that you're actually going to be, you know, happier in. So I think a lot of people can get, you know, stuck in that position. And I think everyone's been there, you know. I know it's referred to as like the rat race, but I suppose for you, getting into CrossFit and then starting to have that transition was you making those steps away from that. So continue that story for me. So you moved to Bali, or you went there for 6 months, but I know that grew into like so much more. So, you know, continue that story. What happened? You moved to Bali, you were there hanging out, drinking beers and drinking coffee and training, living the island life. You just started coaching. What happened from then?
So as well as CrossFit coaching, which I was never earning good money here, like you.
No, come on! You don't earn good money as a CrossFit coach on a small island.
Not in, I think you can, but yeah, obviously you don't get paid great amount of money for coaching, and then obviously in Indonesia as well, you don't. And that wasn't the reason why I wanted to coach here. Again, after having 6 months break of not coaching, I actually really enjoyed just being back in that environment again. So on the side of that, I started up my own online nutrition company, and just had a handful of clients that I knew from back in town. In hindsight, I wish I started the company while I was still coaching CrossFit in London, had more connections, so I could have went to Bali with a base of clients, but that never happened that way. So I learned nutrition, started to get a couple of clients. I was also doing this marketing coaching program as well, which was really shit, really. But it opened me up to, okay, I need to understand marketing, and I need to understand how to get clients. So I tried doing some things, but it wasn't really geared to how to do it online. So that's when I met my good friend James Moody. That's how I met you through him as well. And him being the sales shark that he is, sold me into one of his kind of coaching courses, which was geared. I mean, he had an online nutrition company as well that he claims was doing 5 figures a month. So I was like, cool, he kind of has what I want. So I need to kind of learn what he was doing. And at the same time, he had another company with George, and obviously you was working for him as well, on how to help coaches grow their business online, specifically trainers and nutrition coaches. So I went for a coffee with him. He was going to help me figure things out. Sold me a program on how to build a course in ClickFunnels and how to do the funnels and all the automation and connect everything together. And as I was going through that course, it opened up opened something up to me. It's like, okay, I really enjoy this side of things. I really enjoy putting things together. I really enjoy connecting things and the automation, and okay, why is this thing not working? There's a problem. Okay, let me find a solution. Because my old job in corporate was as a business solutions manager. So the business would come to me and be like, hey, we need a system to do this, or we need a process to do this. Can you go figure it out? And I'll go to the other departments and figure out a solution for that. So kind of bringing that full circle into what I do now, it's like, okay, I needed to figure out all the automation, the funnels, and how everything worked. I really enjoyed that side of things. So I didn't enjoy the coaching aspect with online coaching, specifically with the nutrition stuff. It wasn't really like something I'm passionate about, really, nutrition. Like, I like eating well, but coaching other people into it wasn't something that set my soul on fire. It was just a way for me to earn money. And then the clients I was working with was just like anyone that would work with me. I didn't kind of niche down to who I wanted to work with. It was just mostly women. And even when I was personal training back in Essex, it was always women that come towards me, and then not the people that I would enjoy spending time with. Like, James asked me a really cool question. He's like, if you was to do a week's long retreat with people and you charge them 10 grand each, who do you want to spend a week long with? And I'm like, well, it's not middle-aged women. I kind of think against them, but I don't understand. I can't connect to their lifestyle. It would be people like I once was. So like people in their 20s that are struggling with their weight, struggling with following what diet to work, like chicken, broccoli and rice, and kind of being misled that way. So I did pivot my business more towards that, but my passion was still in the funnel side of things. So then I met my now fiance Lani at the time, after being in Bali for a year, and she was struggling as a yoga coach, yoga teacher in Uluwatu, but she had a real connection with the people that she was coaching and teaching. Like, people would cry in the class, and I come up to her afterwards like, hey, you're really changing my life. And like, that wasn't normal for a yoga teacher to get those comments. I saw that she had something really unique in her. And again, she was struggling with money and possibly had to fly back home to the US. So I'm like, why are you struggling to get 5-10 people into your yoga class every week when you can be connecting to hundreds of women around the world? And she was like, I don't know how to do that. I was like, well, I do. Like, I've learned the skills and how to do this. So let's see what we can do. And at the time, I moved in with her in Uluwatu, which is like an hour's drive from where I am now in Canggu, and I was still coaching CrossFit. So I'd do a commute an hour and back each day. So I just put a podcast in. For 2 hours, I was just listening to a marketing podcast and just learning from other people that have been successful online and what they were doing with marketing on like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, how the algorithms were working, how email lists worked, and the best way to do that. Yeah. So we just kind of used kind of Lani's coaching as a guinea pig, and we kind of launched her first course, and we did a $5,000 launch, and like with no spend. She had a good following from Instagram because she was an early adopter to Instagram. So she had like 12,000 followers at the time. So we just kind of set up a little funnel from that. Sign up if you're interested in this course. And then we launched the course for like $600. And yeah, we've done like $5,000 off of the back of that. And that was kind of the first.
Bali is, your year's rent almost to a certain extent.
Yeah, totally. So,
it's so incredible to see when you look back at your actual journey, where it started, and obviously in the corporate and ultimately as a business manager, then into the fitness industry, and now how you've combined those to build this, incredible company that you have with Lani. It's super interesting. Like, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
It was like, it genuinely was meant to be.
Totally. Yeah. Then at the time, like, when me and Lani started our business, it wasn't all like roses. Like, we struggled. Like, we done that 5K launch, and after that, we fucking struggled. Yeah. We signed up to a $20,000 coach, and that didn't work out well for us. And then kind of Lani got turned off a bit with coaching and stuff. She was struggling to kind of have that momentum and that drive and the passion that she had. So yeah, then I started working. I needed to bring some money in as well. So I was like, okay, who can I work with? And then I started working with other kind of coaches and trainers, like personal training and nutrition coaches, and helping them launch their online business. So then having that connection with the fitness industry, and then having the business side of things as well, just get every kind of cementing things together really good.
Love it. And it's also, for those that don't know Lani, and even like the connection there, is like, you two are such a perfect couple, even from a business aspect, because Lani is this leader of so many people. She's this powerhouse. She's I know that she's been described as like the female version of like Tony Robbins, which I always think is great. And then for you, you've got this like incredible knowledge of the systems, the funnels, the marketing, the sales, how it all links together, so that you two combined is like, it's inevitable that your business was gonna grow and do what you've done. I know that you've mentioned before that like 2020 was a very pivotal year for you. Can you give an insight into like why that was, and even like what potentially happened in 2020?
Yeah, so everyone likes bad mouths 2020 for obvious reasons with COVID and stuff. But for us, it was awesome. We had a lot of momentum in 2019. So I'll start with 2019 first. 2019 was really the year we picked things up with the business. We got another coach, shout out to Sam Ovens, at the beginning of 2019. And through his first program, which was like, when we look back at how cheap that program was and how much money it gave us in return, was a phenomenal investment. Awesome. And we started to really build up in 2019 to like 20K months with Lani's life coaching offer. Yeah. But we were still in Bali, and we kind of got to that point where, but with Bali, I feel like there's a certain place you can grow to, and then you just get stuck. I think the energy in Bali can be quite negative, and the people here were like me when I first came to Bali, like haven't got any money, starting their business off, and didn't have that abundant mindset. So we managed to get to 20 grand. I feel like we was just kind of stuck at that in Bali, and we just needed to get out and expand more. So we decided to go to Australia. So we got our 6-month visas for Australia, and then in 2019 was in Australia. Went to Tony Robbins, went to UPW, and like when we come out of UPW, we was like, man, we're fired up. So then we hired a Tony Robbins coach to help us as well, and we quickly got to 30, 40, 50K months at the end of 2019, and then launched a new program, started to do online webinars at the beginning. At the end, the first one was at the end of 2019. We was in New Zealand at the time, just for New Year's, and then we went to Perth in the beginning of 2020, done a couple of live events, because that's why we went to UPW as well, just to see how kind of Tony's grown into doing like 50,000 sold out stadiums. But we wanted to kind of get that, and that's why we started working with Tony Robbins' coach, who's like, okay, let's try and learn some of the tricks of the trade. So we started to do live events in Perth. We've done 200 women events that sold out pretty quickly, just from running ads online, just like trying. I was like, I have no idea how to fill an event. Let's just try this Facebook ad, and it worked, and made money off of our ad spend. Like we also charged for a ticket, and we were positive after that. And then COVID happened, so we went back to the UK because Lani's American, and the US had shut anyone from the UK out. So it was like, okay, let's get Lani into the UK so we can both be together, just in case the UK shuts anyone out. So yeah, went into lockdown, and we had the experience of running webinars from the end of 2019 and beginning of 2020. So continued with that. But what we found was more people were on Facebook. So because they were at home doing nothing. So our ad spend was quite cheap, and our cost per lead was like $3 to $5. So people were signing up for webinars because they were at home. They was watching the webinars as well. So that was cool. So our attendance rate was like 60 to 90%, which we later found out in 2021 was pretty special. And our cost per lead was like $5 max.
Oh, wow.
And then with what Lani was offering was like helping these women out of tough times, being unhappy and not knowing their purpose in life, and Lani having that solution. I think COVID forced people to be like, okay, I can't go out and get drunk. I can't go out and sleep around. I have to face my demons, and like I'm at home by myself. So something needs to change. And then Lani's come along with this solution to these problems. And we just found, because people were watching the webinar, we had a solution to the problems. Again, we've done marketing to understand our audience really well and presented them with a solution. And then we managed to build up to $80,000 a month on a life coaching offer, which is pretty unheard of, really, when you look at the life coaching space.
Huge. It's so amazing. It's like the perfect timing. It's like the perfect storm almost of how things came together for you guys. I don't know if you're the right person for this. Maybe it would be better directed to Lani, but like, what's been one of the most powerful stories or results of one of those clients that came through that life coaching program? Is there any that come to mind?
Not initially. I mean, we get so many people that say things like they quit their job, or they found the love of their life and they're now getting married, or women that have been told they couldn't get pregnant have become pregnant. So that's really special to see. But just ones that it's like, I'm waking up happy, and it's like it's something that happy people may take for granted, and that kind of stuff. People have their shit together, but just seeing that people are doing that, and just kind of how we just kind of switch their life around. It's really cool. So we end up getting like over 300 women in that year into our first coaching program. And that sounds like a lot of women, but we offered them a fantastic service and built a massive community, and they all felt well looked after. And the cool thing is all those women become friends with each other. They go on holiday with each other, like, even though we're not offering that program anymore. Relationships was formed in that program, and that's been really cool to see. And seeing women now that have changed their life around because of Lani, and then be like, I want to do that. I want to help other people. And that's something Lani's always encouraged, is take these tools that I'm giving you, make them your own, and go and help other people spread the light. So that's been something really cool to see, is just women now helping other women with what they've learned from Lani.
It's so incredible, like full circle, that perfect storm. It's so interesting to see. And I know that you've pretty much transitioned, you've added on top of that life coaching business now, and starting to lean into helping other people. How did that transition come about? What does that now look like?
Yeah, so we had two programs during 2020, one called Purpose, one called Love. Love was always our first program.
Yeah.
It was a life coaching offer, but then we found women who were applying for that program wasn't at the level that Lani needed them to be at to get them to the level she wanted to take them to. So that's when we created the Purpose program, to get people who are rock bottom up to a certain level so they can then come into Love. And what we found as they were coming into Love, they were wanting to become a life coach or help other people. So even that Love was just, again, for your life and making your life better. I then put a module in there, which is, okay, if you want to become a life coach or if you want to kind of do personal training or whatever, then this is the fundamentals of how to market, how to sell, kind of how to niche down, how to find your audience. So I had a little module in there. And what we found was people were going through that module, but they weren't really doing it really well, or they weren't implementing the tasks, or any sort of negative feedback they get, then they're just like, stop doing it. Like if I say to them, hey, go and do a Facebook Live or a Facebook post and share some value, if they didn't get any likes or any comments, or they didn't get a call booked out of it, oh, this doesn't work, I'm not going to do it anymore. And then they just stop doing it. I'm like, that's not how things work. So now, beginning of this year, was like, okay, we wanted to pivot. We're always growing. So Lani's always grown as a coach, who she started working with 4 years ago. Obviously isn't who she works with now. And she doesn't want to go back to working with those people. She's growing and she obviously wants to grow as well. And like Tony Robbins wouldn't go back and work with people he was working with 10 years ago. So that natural progression for Lani kind of led her into wanting to help people with their businesses more. It's just kind of the passion that she has. So we kind of put our heads together. And at the end of last year, I wasn't doing much in the business. Like all the systems were set up. Facebook ads I can just switch on. So I wasn't being really fulfilled. So we was like, okay, how can we change things up so we're both really happy? And we realized the life coaching route that we were doing wasn't really what we wanted to focus on anymore now. So we wanted to go into the business coaching world and specifically help life coaches. And what we found was in this business, as students and people looking for coaches, we find there's a lot of noise in this space amongst business coaches that are promising you like 10, 20, 30 grand a month, but they've never done it themselves, or their first business is a business telling you how to start a business, which I think is bullshit. Yeah. So okay, we've built a life coaching business to over $1 million in 18 months. So we know what we're doing. Like we've spent over 200 grand last year on our mentors and coaches and learning things. So it's like we're fully invested. We've done trial and error. Like we've never quit. Like obviously sometimes things have been really hard, but we've always maintained, okay, we're going to learn from this. So we wanted to take those lessons and help other life coaches build a successful business. And what we're finding is life coaches, they don't have that kind of abundant mindset or believe that they can make a lot of money. And it's like, no, you can do 70 grand a month or 20 grand a month if you want, and we know how to do it. So that's what kind of made us go into that, and looking and like learning from people like Alex Hormozi and stuff at the moment, and being like, okay, let's do as much for them as we can to get them results. Because what we found before is if we just tell people what to do, they'll either half-ass it or won't do it. And that's fine, because life coaches aren't designed, aren't mentored, aren't supposed to be doing funnels and automations and stuff.
Yeah,
that's not
very different skill.
For. So it's like, okay, let's put an offer together where I'll do all the funnels and website building and course building for Lani teaches high ticket sales and how to charge 5, 10, 15 grand a ticket and actually bring value to the table for these people, like for your clients. We're not just trying to get you to mug off people. It's let's actually provide 10x the results they're paying you for. And putting together a program that utilizes everything. Obviously, everything's mindset. It's like there is no business problems, it's life problems you bring into your business. So obviously Lani's experience as a life coach helps her tackle those. So that's a good reflection then on their business, and then coupling that with what I can do on the back end side just really helps people skyrocket the business.
It's such a powerful duo, such a powerful duo. So here's the thing, I imagine it's not always been sunshine and rainbows. Like, what advice do you have to other business owners that are potentially in a relationship, and the two of them own a company? What lessons did you guys learn? What's enabled you to be able to thrive like you have?
Yeah, I think, well, me and Lani are quite opposite in ways like you mentioned before. Like, I'm very, at times, quiet and stand backish, extrovert, introvert. Yeah. And Lani's the opposite. She's like got to be center of attention at parties. And we went to a party last year, Sam Bishop's birthday party, and she was like, I'm not going to drink, I want to go home by sunset. I was like, okay, cool. And we had a couple of gins when we got there, and I'm standing at the bar, and my buddy Charlie runs over. He's like, oh, you missed it. Lani was like twerking and like doing splits in the middle of the dance floor. I'm like, it's all right, Charlie, I've seen it enough, don't worry. So she's just that kind of, she brings that energy and noise, and that's so just her. So we complement each other really well. But obviously with the business, I think it's important to establish who does what, and then who can make, and then who's making the decisions in which area. So like with our business, I'm obviously thinking not so much the bigger picture, but okay, this is what we need to do in terms of investing in ourselves and coaches and what we need to learn and where we want to go to. And then what Lani brings to the table is not being afraid and taking those bigger steps where like I may be like, hey, let's aim for 50 grand this month. She's like, no, let's do 200 grand this month. And like, she just brings that, and it's like that drive, and that really kind of drives me on and sees my vision open up a lot more as well. And then one thing we've implemented this year is just daily huddles, and just having 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the morning, every morning, Monday to Friday, and just being like, okay, what are you going to work on today? What am I going to work on today? And just getting those listed out, and then holding each other accountable the next day. Okay, what did you do yesterday? Why didn't you do this?
Like that.
That's really important. Yeah, I mean, definitely to start off with the business, it was it wasn't easy going with personality clashes and me telling Lani, hey, you got to do this, and then me not being sensitive to her feelings about things. So it's just like a learning thing. Like now, communication's important, and now I know how to communicate to Lani more. If I have feedback for her, and then she'll know how to communicate to me. She has feedback from me.
That's the process. I like that daily huddle approach, because you set the intention to then talk about business, so you're not just always talking about business. That can really help. So that's really, really cool. So what challenges are you actually currently striving to overcome with the business at the moment?
We're saying really like business problems. Like we want to be quite selective with who we work with and how much time we want to spend. We've gone through the road of like bringing on a sales team and bringing in X amount of people and trying to hit these targets, and it just wasn't a fun thing to do. So and because we're located in Bali, it just didn't work well when we were trying to do that last year with our life coaching business. The only problem, the problems that we have now is just being in Bali and the restrictions that brings in terms of the rest of the world and time zones and stuff. So our business is kind of, got a problem with us being here, but we're fixing that by leaving here. I think that, and there's a pivot obviously as well with going from life coaching to business coaching for life coaches. It was obviously the email list and the people we're targeting aren't those same people, although we have had a lot of life coaches obviously maybe have eyeballs on what Lani's doing or have problems they wanted help on that life coaching space. So our email list is the wrong audience. So we're just pivoting, starting again really, and kind of, okay, who is our market, and just going back through from the beginning, who's our market, who's our audience, how do we speak to them, how do we attract them, and then how do we get them to buy from us and know that we are the best people for them. So no problems, it's just the journey, and all fun and games. Yeah,
it's quite ironic, right? It's when you're building that life coaching business, is you don't want other people who are life coaches following you, and then as soon as you've made that transition, you actually wanted more of those people to be following your journey. It's quite interesting.
We never not wanted them to follow us because we never had that mindset of if they want to copy, we've seen people copy us. Like we've had life coaches come through our programs to better their life.
Yeah.
And then they'll release a course, and I've seen one coach do it, two coaches do it word for word, like the name of their lessons in their course, the exact same as ours. And like they think, I mean, I don't care, because you're never going to be Lani. You're only going to be the best version of you. So when you're trying to imitate someone, you're just going to come off as a cheap imitator. Why not just be the best version of you? So I just reached out to him and said, like, hey, I've seen you've done this. Probably not a best idea. Maybe try putting your own spin on things. Like, we're happy for you to take the tools that we've shared and make them your own, because obviously Lani hasn't invented any of her stuff. Like, she gets influenced by people, but she makes it her own. She calls them her own things, and the influence that she has is her own energy and that kind of stuff. So that was a funny thing that we noticed. But yeah, we are thankful now that we have had life coaches follow us, because they've become our first clients.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've had the same where people have like completely copy and pasted my work, and I just commented underneath like, great post, really well written, really well written. So it's just slightly different approaches. Maybe I got some lessons to learn there. Chris, I did want to delve into some of the amazing work that you've been doing with the charity. I think the charity was called Operation Underground Railroad. So I'd love to know, just like, one, how you even started to get introduced to this charity, and then also just to learn more about some of the work you've been doing. So I know that you've been leading the way and doing some amazing stuff here.
Yeah. So Tony Robbins introduced us to that charity. If you go to UPW or whatnot, he's a big supporter of that charity. I think he's good friends with one of the owners of the charity. So he donates a lot of money to them, and obviously brings it to focus. And it was while we was coaching with Tony Robbins' coach that she got us to see the bigger picture of, okay, if we earn more money, what does that mean? And it means impact, and how we can impact our communities, our families, and people around us. So that led us into wanting to partner with a charity and help a charity. So Operation Underground Railroad helps kids that have been sold into sex slavery. And it's surprising to see how many of that is in the US. Obviously, you fortunately see it in Asia and South America, quite a lot in Africa. But it's really large numbers in the US. And it's something Lani felt really closely with, because she was sexually abused when she was a young child. So those children, they're helpless. Like they can't turn to their own parents, because it's the parents that are sending them half the time, and that kind of stuff. So it really struck a personal chord with Lani and to me as well. Like, okay, like I grew up the complete opposite to Lani. I had a fantastic childhood. My parents gave us everything. We grew up in a nice house, went on holidays every year, and they've always been supportive. So I've always been blessed with a good childhood. So for me, I'm like, okay, it sucks to hear that other children don't have what I had. And then for Lani, it sucks that other people experiencing worse than what she did. So that has led us to then just kind of obviously donating monthly out of the business, and just kind of giving them that. Then wanting to do more. Like when we was more vocal about donating to charity, then we found that our clients wanted to help as well. So again, something Lani is very good at is getting people to follow her and getting people to follow her kind of message. And it's funny now, because she's eating raw liver a lot, and we get so many women message her saying, hey, I'm now trying raw liver. But it's really cool with Operation Underground Railroad, because we had clients being like, okay, I want to donate as well. And then in middle of 2020, in the summer of 2020, one of Lani's clients, Rosie, passed away in a car crash. So Lani wanted to do something really impactful for her, and it was to save a child's life through Operation Underground Railroad. And what they say is it takes $12,000 to save a child, with like operation costs and getting things together again, and going into the operations and undercover and stuff. So every 12 grand we essentially raised for and would save a child's life. So our goal was to do 12 grand, and just putting out the message in that community, and raised maybe like 15 grand within a week. And then we was like, okay, let's do 2 children. So we put together a workshop where all of the money we made from that went towards the charity as well. I think we ended up raising 26 or 28 grand.
Wow.
in those 6 weeks, on top of what we were donating regularly monthly as well, and then what other clients were donating. So I think altogether we've like over 50 grand, which is really cool. And just like this understanding what goes on with the money and saving up people's lives has been really cool. And then the charity is super cool. Like one of the guys done a Zoom call with Lani and her clients, and just explain more about what happens in the business and the kind of where the money's going, and some of the success stories and that kind of stuff. And they actually reached out last week, emailed us and said they're having an event in London and they'd love for us to come and meet the team and meet the owner.
Awesome.
Kind of, unfortunately, we're not going to be in London at the time, but super cool charity. And
Love that.
for us, I felt that and the connection we've made with them was really surprising, because I don't feel like we're contributing enough when you listen to how much like Tony Robbins donates to them, and like millions a year, which is fantastic. They've been super cool, like reaching out and thanking us every month or whenever, and like really appreciate what we do. And we just want to be able to help more, and that kind of drives us to want to earn more money in our business and life, and just kind of help more people, because there's only so much you can do with money in your own life before. I think Alex Moses says it really well. It's like, once you earn so much money, there's nothing you can do with it, and it's just about helping other people. And for us, it's helping those children.
Love that. Well, dude, I think from everyone, I can say a massive thank you really for what you guys are doing there. And it's so powerful. I'll make sure the links to the charity and a donation link there is as well. It's amazing. It's also pushing me to be like, okay, I need to do more. Then there needs to be another level to what I'm doing. And I love that tie that you have from the impact and the money. It's like you say, once you've hit that certain point, it's like it becomes much bigger than that, which is super powerful. Thanks for sharing, dude. It's doing some amazing work. I did have one question here that actually we'll come to that in a second. What's the future of the companies that you're running and what you're doing? Like, where is this heading? What do you have, like an ultimate end goal for you and Lani?
We have an end goal with our life and our income and what we want to create. So we always see the business as a stepping stone to creating the wealth we want to create. And neither of us are like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, where we want to build these massive empires and be focused on that. Like, we enjoy helping people. Like, last year wasn't a good year for us really with the business, and coming off the success of 2020 and expectations, and then things changing quite drastically with webinars and Facebook and ad spend and the iPhone update and that kind of shit. We then pulled back and okay, we don't want to have all this exposure. Mm-hmm. We were doing like 35 grand ad spend some months on Facebook, and it's like, when you're spending 35 grand on ads, there's an expectation that you have to earn, you have to sell. So it was like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's start focusing more on profit and bring more profit into the business, and not be so attached to revenue numbers, even though they're really cool numbers to boast about. So for us, it's like growing our kind of new avenue of the business, helping other life coaches really achieve what we were able to achieve, and in a faster time as well, not having to go through all the shit that we had to go through. And then getting that to a point, and getting our income to a point where we're able to invest in property and stocks and stuff. The goal is to invest, I think it's 2 million or 4 million into property. And if that gives us a 6% yield, then we're on 10, 20 grand a month. And that's our goal, is okay, let's make those investments. Let's work our balls off over the next 5 years, get to that couple of million mark, get it all into property, and then have that true passive income. I hate the word passive income because it's so huge these days. But like, real estate is one of the true ways to have passive income, where you can invest in it and it pays you monthly. So what we're doing at the moment is looking at Grant Cardone's stuff. He has Cardone Capital. He goes out and buys 300, 500 people apartment blocks, and then he allows you to invest in those, and then he pays you either monthly or quarterly share based on the rents and based on the profit they make. So we're like, okay, let's just take some money, put some money into that, put some money into some into some stocks, into Vanguard 500, and just kind of let our money work for us. And it's something we've learned really late on, that we wish we were told this in 2020 when we would like had a lot of cash coming in. Like, oh shit, like during 2021 we just like spent loads of money, made some bad investments, made some bad ideas, and it's like, oh shit, we could have put our money to work. So now like our big goal is, let's get our money working from us, like kind of cut back on life a little bit. And like I said, we travel the world a lot. We made a decision in 2019 to only travel business class. That's all we're accepting for ourselves. That's our standards. Obviously, that comes at a price as well. Yeah. So it's like, okay, like we've lived pretty well over the last three years, but it's time to kind of pull that back so we can then read the rules in the future and just kind of invest. So with the business, like, yeah, focus on this over the next 2 years, 3 years, see where it goes. Probably keep it again quite small. Lani does her part, I do my part. We both work really well. The business is a way for us to live our lives. Our lives aren't the business. So we don't want to burn out. We just want to work with cool clients that we want to work with. That's why we charge high ticket as well, so we can not only give them the service that they need, but so we can support ourselves and not feel like we have to work with 100 people and give them 100 hours. And we've learned from experience that the people that pay high ticket actually are the least problematic people you can ever find. Like, you get £100 person or you get £1,000 person. £1,000 person's the easiest one to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was really interesting you mentioned about the transition from where you've gone to building an empire and then back down to profit. Because I got some clients that they're doing about 20k a month, who built up towards 45 and had all the plans and everything in place to take it to 60, 70. But as soon as we got to that 45, they were like, hey, we don't want these problems. Like, they were like, this is more than what we wanted. We don't want to push that. And actually now we've done the same as you, is like switch towards more profit, of like, actually, let's reduce those expenses. Let's keep the revenue where it is. And, let's just take home more profit each month. So that's been really interesting to see that transition too, of like ultimately finding and establishing what your enough is.
There's a lot of noise in the industry and coaches and kind of people, ego, I guess. People feel like they have to be doing what other people are doing, and we have to be building out these teams, and we have to be doing 100k a month because so-and-so is, and that's what everyone else is doing, and they're all getting these 2 Comma Club awards and this kind of stuff, and it's just like, why are you doing
ego stroke?
Yeah, and like, for us, we do our business because we want to enjoy our lives to a higher standard, but that means getting that balance right. Okay, are we generating the income that we want to generate and still live the life that we want to live, and not, because if that goes up, if the income goes up, then our standard of life goes down, and we noticed that last year. So it's like, okay, let's get that balance right. Less money on the profit and loss sheet, so be it, but what it generally means is more profit, and then a happier life.
Love it. I got last question for you, dude. This has been a lot of fun. This is a question I ask everyone who's been on the show. It's not an easy one. It says, what advice would your future self give you in this current moment?
Invest. Like, that's my biggest lesson this year is investments, man. It's like, I feel so stupid. Like, it's so easy to look back in hindsight. Like, if you asked me what I would have said to myself 12 years ago, it would have been to start CrossFit or like start doing something, because I was so tired from sitting at a desk and exercising. So it's always in hindsight, I wish I could have said this to myself. But what I'm learning now is like, shit, if I started taking just 10% of my salary when I was 18, I would have hundreds of grands in the account now, earning me money. So so I think obviously I've learned that lesson now. So that's the thing.
The other thing to take away from that is you have invested, but it's always been into yourself, your skills, and resources. So that's enabled you now that you'll be able to earn the income, that you'll be able to make rapid progress in your physical, investments. But there is still some takeaways there for everyone who's listening. It's like the importance.
That's definitely something I'm proud of myself with. Like, even when I decided to become a personal trainer, or even when I decided to invest in a personal trainer, it was like £1,000, £1,200 it was. I just got a bonus, and it was like 12 sessions, £100 a session. Okay, like, I'm gonna do it because I want this. And then I invested in myself to become a personal trainer, and then like over the last 5, 6, 7 years, everything that I've had, I've invested back into knowledge. And then that's just as valuable as real estate, because it just allows you to then up your income level and up what you can charge. So yeah, super powerful.
Big lessons. Love it. Love it. Dude, I just want to give you the opportunity to, you know, where can people find out more about you? There will be all the links and everything, but what's the best way for someone to connect with you guys if they're looking to up level, whether they're coaching business or even just their life?
Cool. So yeah, if you're a life coach looking to grow your life coaching business to 20K to 50K a month, easy. Look us up at laninalu.com. The link is in the show notes, I'm sure.
Yep.
Or look at Lani's Instagram, Lani Nalu Instagram. Or if you want to send me a DM, then I'm on Instagram as AwesomeAFChris.
Such a great handle. I love it. I was like checking it out this morning, so I was just going back through some old photos, and I was like, oh, it just made me smile. Such a good handle.
That was one of my business names. It was Awesome AF Funnels.
Yeah.
I like the word awesome. I've got awesome funnels, and that gave me the AF part. And Lani always says AF. Obviously, she went for a period, I think, of she likes to swear, so she probably said that's awesome as fuck. So I just put that in. But yeah, that's just kept with my.
Great. Love it. Well, dude, very grateful for you coming on the show. Been awesome to reconnect, considering, you know, it's been I feel like we've seen each other quite a lot over the last couple of years, like in and out. London, Bali, Portugal. So yeah, I appreciate you, buddy. And yeah, look forward to what's to come. Exciting times.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.